reaching out from Apostolic Faith Church Bahati, and I know you have subscribed to our YouTube, Facebook, Apostolic Faith Church Kenya, and we assure you that we will keep on hearing from God. We will keep on understanding the will of God. We will keep on discerning the move of God, and also keep you informed of what God really wants with our lives. We desire that your life become better. We desire that your life become renewed. We desire that you overcome the world through better performance and faith. May the Lord bless you. Now, we want to embark on the unique expectations in marriage, part 3, and we trust that this will be maybe the last part if God will allow it, and God will bless us. Last time we were able to understand in a very applicable, practical way how marriage is, and biblically we were able to interpret Ephesians chapter 5, or rather to not to interpret, but to understand the systematic way in which Ephesians chapter 5 actually can be, what it means and how it can be applied. Because it says, men, love your husband, love your wife, just as Christ loved the church. We discovered Jesus loved the church in its level of being like raw material. Church was not loved when it existed. Church was loved when it was ingredients, raw material that were to be transformed by the love of Christ into product that he wanted. In this manner, love the church as Christ, love your wife as Christ loved the church. Number 1, he gave himself to transform it. It was not good. Gave himself to cleanse it by word and water. That is, I believe with all my heart, and it's so clear in the biblical evidence, that men should understand that wives are not ready. What we marry are girls, raw material. They are not wives. It is through our love that we transform the wife to become the wife that we can bring to ourselves. That's what the Bible says in Ephesians 5. That is, that Christ first of all loved the church by giving himself as a sacrifice to transform it. So he loved the church, gave himself to her. That the first level of love is sacrificial. I say to you, husbands, please, the first level is sacrificial. Before you get the wife you want, the first level is sacrificial. You may romance during the honeymoon and those early stages, but very soon you discover the wife you have is not the wife you think. So you need to fulfill Ephesians chapter 5, verse 26, that says that he might sanctify and cleanse her with the washing of water by the word. All husbands, can you imagine this? How do you fulfill Ephesians 5:26? Whereby you first love, give yourselves to her, so that you might sanctify her, cleanse her by washing of the water by the word. How? But this is true. Anybody who enjoys marriage, relationship with a wife, must first have sacrificed. You give yourself to sanctify her. You gave yourself to cleanse her. Not to cleanse her from sin, from immorality or such things, but to cleanse her in relation with love, in relation with your marriage, in relation with the gift of marriage that you really want. And says, sanctify her, cleanse her by washing her with washing of water by word. And then, go to 42. That he might present her to himself. This is funny. You are the one cleansing her. You are the one sanctifying her. And then you are the one to present her to yourself. So in marriage, you marry a woman twice. The first one is actually not enjoyable marriage. Is the sacrifice that the husband make to cleanse the wife, to sanctify her, to make her lady. And the second level is present her to yourself. Then the issue is, does it mean in the first level the wife is not presented to you? Yes, there is a part of your heart that where your wife is not yet presented. You are yet to present your wife after you sacrifice for her and make a lot of work, do a lot of work to cleanse her and present her to yourself. In which manner? The Bible talks about present her to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such things, but that she should be holy and without blemish. If this is the process, then every marriage should be good. But if we lack the process of making, if we lack the process of making, we also have the wrong presentation. If we lack the process of making, we also have the wrong partner, or maybe the right partner, but the wrong quality. And because people, when they get married, men don't think that wife should be worked on. Actually, men think wife should work on him. Wife should meet his needs. Wife should satisfy the heart of the husband. But now you are demanding love at the wrong stage. The first stage is not where you demand love. The first stage is where you work for love so that you can present love to yourself. So marriage is not simple. Marriage is work. You can wed and fail to marry. You can have a wonderful wedding, even a glorious wedding show, but you miss the marriage you really desire. Now, in that level, it is important to drive marriage to the level of understanding. We call that marriage of the mind. If marriage is never driven to the level of understanding, we just have marriage as a label or a theme which has never been analyzed or understood. If we try to avoid the stage of where you marry your husband or your wife in the level of mind, later that space or that void, that space that you have missed will be reflected in your performance. When marriage never occurs in the level of understanding or the level of mind, later you will notice, however much you try to perform or live or maybe relate, there will always be a room of suspicion. There will always be a room of attack. There will always be a room of irritation. And therefore, it is important. And I advise husbands, can you lead your wife in the level of understanding? That is when you don't have, it's not an issue of emotions. It's an issue of, although feelings are doorway. And let me say this, in a relationship, for you to gain access to other issues, you need feelings of love. If today you want to access an issue in your husband, you can't just go direct. Release some feelings of love, and the feelings of love will open up to other issues of marriage. It's like when you have medicine like quinine, the malaria medicine, or fragile. Those medicines that are tablets that are so bitter. These days, they are putting some icing. I think it is icing, coating. You coat the tablet with some glucose just to make that tablet consumable. It's easy and it's so comfortable to swallow a tablet that is so bitter, but just because it's coated with something sweet on sugar coating, you are able to swallow it. I say to you wives, you don't have to face your husband with the naked truth. We don't need naked truth. We need coated truth. We need truth with some sweet coating. Naked truth, however true it is, in relationship may not be so sweet. But if you can put a nice coating, and icing, what you call a sugar coating on the truth, which means if you want to access the heart of your husband, if you want to access the mind of your husband, of your wife, can you please use the feelings of love as the icing, the coating? And then you'll be able to access the stomach. Yes, the tablet you give to your son is so bitter. But because it was coated with some sugar, it ended up in the stomach. The truth that my wife or your husband released to you, it was so bitter, but because it was coated by feelings of love, it ended up in the stomach of marriage. But some people don't care. They don't care. You just pick. And somebody who cares about relationship cares about the heart of the partner. Somebody who cares about relationship cares about the heart of the partner you're rating with. So for you to get the level of understanding, there's an important thing to do. You husband, don't just come home and be quiet, sleep, rest, and only to wake up the next morning, prepare for work. There's something we need to do. Can you work out a program of taking your marriage to a level of understanding, whereby everything in marriage is in the level of mind understanding? It's not just called marriage, but it's marriage in understanding level. It's not just issue of money, but it's money in understanding level. It's not just having sex at night or during the day, but it is sex in understanding level. I know my wife. She knows me. So we have sex with understanding. But when there is no common understanding, it is our bodies that meet in sex, but our hearts and our minds don't meet in sex. So we need to have understanding. When understanding prevails, love has an avenue. When understanding prevails, love has an avenue. When understanding prevails, exists, trust has avenue. When understanding exists, forgiveness has avenue. When understanding exists, I am never suspicious. I know when my husband does do this, he means this. When my wife says this, she means this. When my wife behaves this way, she means this. That is understanding level. It really heals and covers so many areas. Another area that we need to appreciate as we grow. When people get out, because you can't just have a couple and you spend times in feelings, sex, romance. There's a time when now you need to exist in your talent. When you marry your wife, who is a bank worker, a cashier or bank manager, she has to go back to work after marriage, after wedding, after honeymoon. So that talent, that work that your wife used to do before you married her, she will continue in that work. In other words, we need to understand that in marriage, there is a level where we need to go back to work. If there's no work, we need to create work. If we don't create work, we need now by force to force ourselves to produce some money and some living. Now, some people get married when they don't know themselves. If today I marry a wife who is a TV producer, I also marry, I marry her as a person, I marry her talent, I marry her production and fruitful life, which is part of our marriage. You men, don't just marry the being, the attractive face, the attractive body, what we call eros. When you get married, there's time for feelings, sex, attraction. But life will demand seriousness. Wake up in the morning, go and produce money. Go and produce things. Bring to the. We need to pay house rent. We need to have some mortgage. Buy a house somewhere. We need to develop the family. We need to pay some house rent. We need to buy a car for the family. We need to meet my wife becomes pregnant, we need to have savings for the pregnancy. That demands I did not only marry the person and the good body, I want to see the product of her talent, the performance of her mind when it comes to meeting the needs of the family. And that's an issue now we have in the church, whereby a girl just stays on. She has not produced a talent. She has not made her talent productive. She's not making money. During the day, she's just resting. And when you meet the church, you are a beautiful girl, you praise around, you are handsome boy, you really perform and you sing a lot. And then you get attracted to each other. You see the pastor, you want to get married, but you are not mature. You are mature, you can bear children. You are mature, you can cook food. But your talent has not produced. I need to see after honeymoon, you go back to your business and bring home money for food. And please, every person should have a productive, activated talent. Women, we can't allow this, that you are dependent. I'm not of the idea that wife is a dependent. Wife is a producer. Wife is a producer. Wife is a participant. Wife is a gifted person. You can't have wives giving birth to children while their mites never give birth. Their heads never give birth. We need wives who are producers from their own womb. We need wife who is a producer from her own might. We need wife who is a producer through her talent. We need that, friends. We don't need a dependent wife. We need a helpmate wife. We must go to the might of God in the Bible. When girls in high school, university are trained in the current way of marital preparation, things are getting worse. Because the new world moves say the husband should pay everything and wife is a dependent. That is bad. And whenever wives are working, they are tempted to use their money elsewhere because the wife, the husband, should pay everything, even the bills. That's not biblical. Christians don't go for that. Yes, what we want is we need to marry in the level of talent. Number one, we need to know that we are not the same way. When it comes to talent, you may have a wife who is a very good sales lady and a husband who is a very good designer. Like now, we might have a shop. My wife is very good in sales. I, the husband, am very good in designing the things that my wife is to sell. But I'm not good in selling. Of course, you know there are talents. There are talents that are people-based. Like now, a doctor deals with the people. A bishop deals with people. But there are talents whereby you find a brother, he's not very good in relating with the people, but he is very good in making goods, making things that somebody else can sell. There are people who's, like now scientists spared time with things. Doctor spared time with the people. Teacher works with the people. Scientists work with ideas and things. Those kind of level. And when you get married to your wife, you might be different. And sometimes you want your wife or you want your husband to perform the way you desire. You want to become the same way. And in that level, you might strain in your marriage because you have not appreciated each other's talent. Some are artistic, some are entrepreneurs, and some are, we call them conventional. There are people who are not creative, but they depend on other people's creativity. Somebody starts a factory and another person performs very well as a manager of something that is already established. Maybe the wife she's conventional in this manner. She can manage the already established work. But the husband is an entrepreneurship. A husband actually is very good in creativity. You start something, establish it, and wife comes to manage it very well. You are different people who build each other one after another. How do you, and that one also is part of marriage. If marriage will not reach out to the level of talent, it will not be complete. There will be no happiness. And that's why sometimes you find a husband who is busy working and a wife who is busy resting and visiting other women and so busy with recreational things, while husband is so busy in raising money for the family. Now that sometimes is bad. You go to a house, the wife spends time watching movies, managing the house, and the husband is so tired doing business, comes home tired, deprived, so much exhausted, but the wife is just there. Now, we don't need that. I say to you wives, when you are marrying, don't just marry an individual, a being that you see around. Appreciate the career of the person you are marrying. Don't just marry somebody because a brother or whatever. Appreciate, even if they don't have much. even if they have not achieved much, at least somebody has an idea of life. Not just romance, not just feelings. There are times we don't need feelings. We need now to work seriously. There are times we don't need feelings. We need to address crisis. There are times we don't need feelings or romance. We need to attend to some very dreadful, threatening issues. You need to marry the capacity of a person. You need to marry the creativity of a person. You need to marry the laziness of a person. Or rather, if she or he is not that way, you need to marry somebody who is ready to become. Somebody whose heart is really thirsty and yearning for a life that is complete. But don't marry a person who is locked inside, lazy, no idea, however beautiful or handsome he is, he is, she could be beautiful, but beauty sometimes is not interpreted from the appearance, it is interpreted from the character and performance. At our age is not, although we appreciate beautiful wives, but 1/4 of beauty is the way she appears. 3/4 is her character, performance, and the way she flows with me. The same with the wife. And that's why we need to have the right interpretation. So we need to marry in the level of talent, so that after honeymoon and all these things, we embark on building our family. We need to buy a house. We need to buy a new washing machine. We need to meet some needs. Maybe our father-in-law is sick. We need to visit them. We need to take our son to a good school. We need to do some savings for the family. You can't save if you're not earning anything. You youth, we don't want just your good face. We want your production. We want your production. And also, we need also to marry the personality temperament. You know, we have the sanguine who are so emotional and whatever. They base all things on emotions and how people appreciate them, and they are easily moved. We have choleric who are like lion, they want to rule, choleric. We have phlegmatic who are quiet, but they don't really perform, but they are not harmful. They are quietly stubborn. They are not harmful, but they are good. Yes, we have melancholy. Melancholy are perfectionists, and they are workers. They just want to get to work and produce and maybe to perfect. The only bad thing with the melancholy, when they are so perfect, they are perfectionists, they always see the area of lack, but not the positive side. There are all these personality temperament. Your wife could be melancholy, a perfectionist, but a worker. But the husband is choleric, a lion heart, somebody who wants to achieve and can do anything to achieve. There are times when you have a wife who is choleric and a husband who is sanguine. Choleric wants to rule. That is her temperament. Sanguine wants to be loved and to enjoy life throughout. And unless we appreciate each other's temperament, first of all, learn when you get married, although you are relating, spend some time analyzing and discerning and maybe discovering your partner. You know, if you just relate the way things are, sometimes you relate wrongly. Why don't you spend the first 1 year in your marriage to discover the personality temperament, to discover who you are married to, so that as you relate, at least you relate rightly and relevantly and with understanding. Most people assumed their wives. They assumed their husbands. And you have just related all through. But what you have come to discover, there are so many areas of deficiency, even when you are 30 years, 20 years in marriage, because you never accepted to discover the personality in your person. So you've related subjectively and not objectively. Do you know there are times you relate with your partner the way you feel, but not the way he or she is? Now, and people assume that throughout. I'm relating with my wife the way I think she should be. I never discovered who she is. So there's no room of her personality in my heart because I relate with her the way I feel. The same thing, you find the wife relates with me the way she feels. And she never took time to discover my heart. She has always remained so stiff with her own self-centered demands and forced me to be what she feels about me. And she never gave me chance so that she can relate with me with understanding of who I am. So we need to do this, friends. It's not complicated. And I see some of the young girls, young couples around here. Spend the first year. Don't just do sex. Try to understand some hidden things, especially personality, temperament, emotional boundaries of your partner, and areas of strength and weakness. And also it's good to discover areas in her life or his life that are closed and areas that are open. It's good to discover. Another thing you need to do as you discover and discern your partner, let me tell you something. A wise man or a wise wife, also, you need to be sensitive about yourself because there are things that you appreciate in your character, some traits, some habits that you came with in marriage that are not healthy in our relationship. There are things you are brought up with. There are things I was brought up with in the residence or environment where we existed that are not healthy and cannot truly be accommodated in our new relationship known as marriage. That one, you don't have to be told. If truly you want marriage and you are for late, there are things that you need to remove from your habits. You discover the way I speak, the way I have been used to, I need to rectify this. I need to withdraw my way of spending money. It's not healthy in our marriage. I need to withdraw the way, my performance. You know, some of you when you are youth, you used to have a sleep just because maybe your elder brother covered your needs. Some of you, you don't work so much because you have been brought up in a family where other people performs and you are allowed maybe not to be so active. But now when you get married, this is your marriage. No one is coming to help you. So there are habits that you develop in your father or mother's house that cannot be appreciated, accommodated, that not healthy in a relationship. And sometimes you also need, we call that introspective view of myself. There is also areas of improvement. There are areas I need to increase performance. The demand of the new relationship and the demand of the goals that you have set will require that I move in a higher speed, not the one I'm used to. And therefore, marriage requires an adjustment because of its demand. The relationship before, I used to be myself. My wife used to be herself. If she remained herself and I remain myself, how do we form the point of intersection? How do we form the point of intersection? How do we form that area in marriage where we use the language of we as a couple, we as a family? When will we form that area? You people be very careful. When you teach women and teach men, be yourself, be yourself. Yes, I be myself. My wife be herself. And we insist on our right, and each one of us. When will we come out of I, me, and form we? We is what we call marriage. Whereby I get absorbed into my wife and she get absorbed into me. And we form a common ground that never bears her name, never bears my name, but bears our names. We as a couple. And I want to give you some warning. Any couple that never forms that point of intersection, it will affect your children later. Children, when they grow up, they need to grow up in that middle part, we. Because when we produce we are able to form habits of we. We have our financial habit. You used to have yours. She used to have her own financial way of doing things. But when we produce our financial habit, when children grows up, they will grow in that area. We have our own way. We have produced our way of dialogue. We have produced our way of conflict solving. We have produced our way of the way we have dinner as a family. We have produced our way of worship in the house. We have produced our program for the year. We know when it comes to Easter, this is what we do. When it comes to even, we are not strangers. Because I and my wife, we are not strangers. Children comes in and also learn that they are not strangers to the marriage of dad and mom. And that's how children, when they get to teenage, they never get lost. Actually, the children will understand the faith of their parents when the faith of their parents help them to form habits of marriage. Now, we also need to appreciate in marriage stages of marriage. Please do not demand higher stages while you have just initiated your walk in marriage. When you start marriage, just as I said last time, you are strange to each other. And sometimes you treat each other as strangers. And you assume so many things and even pretend. Because when somebody is your guest, you can even borrow money to please your guest. You can even borrow a loan from maybe from savings bank or whatever to please your partner. But now there's a stage where you enter, whereby after that, you can't pretend, you become real to each other. There is a stage in the middle life of marriage where people become real. And that time, husbands take over, lead the family. A husband needs to be so prayerful. Be the prophet and the priest of the family, so that you can save your family from corruption during the middle life, whereby you get used to each other, your character and habits crash. Somebody should come to rescue. Husband, lead in rescuing the family. Know how to call aside your wife and start what we call the marriage in understanding, the marriage of the mind. I always tell husband, when you get the middle life or middle age, husbands feel provoked. and you feel like reacting so much. If you react, wives also react because you are a leader in whichever direction you take. If you lead your wife in forgiveness, she will follow you in that. If you lead your wife in good dialogue, she will be a good partner in dialogue. If you lead your wife in prayerful life, she will follow. If you do it immediately after marriage, it works very well. But if you lead your wife in reaction, they are better in reaction more than us. If you talk so much, they are even better. Their mouths can speak more than our mouths. So if you lead your wife in the wrong direction, the more she will be a burden to you. And therefore, please, don't assume that your partner is mature. Men, don't assume. You can't assume a house is built where you have never participated. You can't assume things are done. No, we don't live that way. Even if your wife stays on, she will grow old. She will bear children. But whatever has never been built will never be seen. So it's easy to grow and remain immature. It's easy to grow and you remain a child in mind and in character. It's very easy to see these days a grandmother and a grandfather who are still quarreling in their marriage because they grew old, but they never worked on their marriage. So they get hardened in childish things, which even reflect when they are very old. So don't tell us that you are 30 years old in marriage and your wife has never improved. Marriage never improves with age. Marriage improves in whatever has been established. If you never established anything in your relationship, if you never worked out habits for your marriage, you will grow old that way. So we can't blame the age. We blame your level of building the marriage. That's very, very important. Now, we may not continue from there. I think we need to have part 4 next time. There are several things we need to, or maybe on Wednesday, we will continue on. Actually, we want to bring light into what we call understanding, because people these days are very good in attraction. But you run later, what attracted you never had quality. You just see a girl around and you get attracted, not knowing her faith, not knowing her skills, not knowing her ideals. And you relate well in honeymoon. Sex, romance is so high. But when that subsides and you come to the normal daily life, you discover that your partner never had the other part that is required. And that's why we need to address marriage, dissect it, and get some facts for our youth and for our young couples, even old marriages. May the Lord bless you as he uses you now. After you hear this message, go and activate something in your marriage. Go and make a decision for your marriage. Youth who are watching, go, sit down and decide to marry emotionally and rationally. Decide to marry a wife, not the way she appears only. Marry her talent. Marry her creativity. Marry a whole person. Please, you can succeed in that while you exist in an environment where people are all strangers. There are people who don't have social life. You just find people on the street and you are likely not to identify the right partner because you are a stranger to social life. Come to a church if you live around. Socialize with girls and boys in the church, brothers and sisters. In that social life, you are able to know who is this lady, who is this brother. So that when it comes to engagement, you are engaging somebody that you know one or two things that have been confirmed. Do not court to engage. This teaching is becoming horrible, whereby you began a relationship not committed for marriage to try to see whether it can work out marriage. In that, you will be tempted to premarital sex. You will be able to preempt marital feelings. Stop it. God never gave Adam a girlfriend. God gave Adam a wife. We can't have this if your boyfriend-girlfriend issue. It is happening because people are strangers. Because you engage somebody in the street, you want to walk. If you start a relationship, your partner will camouflage herself. She will always appear better. She will conceal the truth. Why don't you exist in an environment whereby you know the new person, even without approaching her? You have observed her or him in various conditions, in various aspects of social life, and you know this person can truly become a wife or a good husband. May God bless you as you live right and live well. Father, I pray for my brother and my sister. Those who are not married, I release this knowledge, I release this truth, and the power of God, the fear of God, to lead them to the right marriage for the sake of peace and prosperity in this life. Those who are married, I now command healing. I command understanding. I pray that God, you help this husband to lead the wife into level of understanding and forming the right habits that will be strongholds, will be strength, will be fiber, will be pillar for their marriage. I release blessings on you now. In Christ Jesus we pray. Amen. Thank you.